Welcome to Raj Kotecha Show, #1 podcast in Dubai. And on today's episode, we are covering one of the biggest stories of the week, really. I mean, in our world, brown guy becomes CEO of the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak. You'll get our thoughts on that, as well as some big concerts coming to the GCC, a lot on Abu Dhabi, because we spent a lot of time there, and a massive change over at YouTube. Now you can get an @handle on YouTube. So some great stories we're talking about. And joining me as always is that probably the happiest dude in the world, because last couple of weeks he's had nothing to report. And this week he was raving and misbehaving with his friend Sex Doll Nick. He had the white boy weekend of the year listening to EDM in Amsterdam. Alex, what's up?
What's up? What's up? I'm good. Pretty crazy weekend you're going to hear about, but yeah.
And we got you up early because we're recording this much earlier than we normally would.
It's okay. Get my day started, right?
Exactly. So it was a brilliant episode. Vic, what's going on?
Yeah, all good, man. I had the opposite weekend to Alex and you, where it was just family dinner and Harry Potter, which you'll hear all about as well.
But we deep dive into Indian food competition, because we know where the places are, and it looks like Vic's got a place to add to that as well. We'll discuss that and much more. It's a long episode. If you want to have shorter episodes, let us know. We're always open to feedback. You can obviously drop us a message on each of our Instagram accounts, which are linked up in the show notes. And whilst you're showing us love, give us a subscription on YouTube. 5 stars would be amazing on Apple and Spotify. So without any further ado, Alex, you ready?
I'm ready.
Run the audio. Okay, guys, time to get into today's show. It is going to be very interesting because we've got so many stories to deep dive into. We have to get out and about, out of the way. Alex, we're going to start with you. And please bear in mind that Vic is adamant that this is his least favorite part of the show, obviously because he does the least out of the 3 of us on a weekly basis. And so he wants us to get it over with. But we can see that you're drinking toilet water. We just saw that before you came on the show, you went into your toilet and you refilled your water bottle. It must have been an absolute white boy goals weekend or a week for you. Tell us what you did. Anybody who's following Alex on Instagram would have seen that he was basically living like white boy student fantasy. What went down?
It was a pretty crazy, very good weekend. So at the moment right now in Amsterdam, there's the Amsterdam Dance events that's happening, which is the biggest electronic music event in the world. I learned recently, which is huge. And so Friday night, I went to a night that was called the Masquerade Party, which was hosted by a DJ called Clapton, if you know him.
No. What music does he play?
Like techno house, like all that.
Yeah.
But so it was James Hype. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Medusa, who has piece of your heart. Then Clapton, and then somebody ended Vintage Culture. So that was wild night. It was till 6 a.m. in the morning. Long night.
What was the last DJ you remember hearing?
No, you know what's crazy? I went sober.
You what? Why?
Because just like I pre-drank, but you're there till 6, from 11 to 6. Like to be drinking that whole time, the amount of money I'd be spending, like there's no point in it.
Right.
Because a water was €8.
Oh,
like wow. How are you doing that? Because like you need to be drinking water when you're going out for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So even €8 for water, I think cocktails were like 15 or something. Like to be able to be drinking that throughout the night, like it's just not worth it.
That's literally just 20% shy of what I was spending in Ibiza. I mean, that's crazy. But then here's the thing: you're not at a student party.
No, exactly. It's a huge festival. Like what can I say? Like those are the prices, and there we go.
Yeah.
And then the day after, Saturday, so the last night of the dance event, there's one specific event called the Amsterdam Music Festival, where they bring some of the top DJs, and for 8 hours straight, they do basically back-to-back 1 or 1 hour, like 1.5 hour sets. And that was Tiesto, Martin Garrix, Afrojack, Nicky Romero, Armin van Buuren, and then Timmy Trumpet. So that was like wild. Like you're really getting the best lineup back to back for a whole night.
You finally got to check out Martin Garrix.
Yeah,
Because there was a few
I
false
did.
starts in Dubai, wasn't there?
Yeah, so I was planning on going to his show in Dubai probably 8-9 months ago.
Mhm.
Just didn't end up going because just like that, things didn't go as planned. I don't know if you heard, but he's coming back to Dubai for New Year's. He announced
No way. Where's he performing? Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola Arena for New Year's.
Wow.
Yeah, he just announced that yesterday.
Is that what he did last time when he came? He did
Yeah,
Coca-Cola Arena, right?
Yeah,
And that was rammed.
yeah, sold out.
And
getting
arenas and
that
super
check.
clubs have got it locked off for New Year's, man. Like one of our friends in Bali, Savaya, he's got black coffee on New Year's.
Wow.
It's like there's some dope ass people that are performing. So you're obviously not going to be there for New Year's, but how was the performance that you saw last night? Who was the better of the DJs?
I don't know, right? Because Martin Garrix is probably the most known, I'd say. So like he has the most known songs out of all of the people that were there. So like I'd say the crowd goes craziest then. But I don't know. I really like discovering Armin van Buuren because I did know his famous songs, but I never really knew a lot of his music. So it's nice seeing him live.
Do they rely on their popular records, or they kind of like
No.
build a set, or when they even when
Yeah.
they play their popular records, do they start with just the elements and then make their way up to it, or do they just kind of like play just a 12-inch version or the radio version?
No, they don't play the radio version. That's what I liked. Especially I felt like so this festival is huge and they haven't done it since COVID. So like all of these DJs were so like hyped to be back in Amsterdam and do a huge show that like it was really good. And also Armin van Buuren and Martin Garrix are both Dutch, so they haven't performed in a big arena in their home country in the last 3 years. So like for them, like it's huge.
Wow, sick. So, hole in the wallet, how big was it overall? Tickets, drinks, transport.
I mean, when I went to Saturday, I had bought the tickets when I was still living in Dubai because those
Yeah.
came out before summer.
Yeah.
But so it's not too bad considering I had bought the tickets early in advance. But if you're waiting till like 2 weeks ago to buy them, then yeah, tickets get expensive.
Right. And worth it?
Yeah, for sure.
Hands in the air like you just didn't care?
Exactly. along with 40,000 other people on Saturday.
Who were you rolling with? You and Sexdoll Nick?
Yeah.
Just the two of you?
Yeah, it was just the two of us.
Yo.
Tickets were sold out, so nobody because we bought them before summer.
Ah.
Where was it specifically? Was it where does it fit 40,000 people?
So Friday night was a 6,000 person venue in like just where they have a bunch of like warehouses and arenas, and then Saturday for 40,000 was at the football stadium, on the floor in seats.
On the floor. Wow.
Like on the pitch, they just layer it with like something, I don't know what, and then just party on the pitch basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's madness. Were you on the floor?
Yeah, but you can't even really tell it's a football field, right? Like,
Sure.
because like stadium in front, like, yeah. But
It's the only place that would house that many people as well, right? So
yeah, literally. Like, I don't unless you're doing an outdoor venue or, yeah, in a huge field. I don't know where else you're gonna put 40,000 people.
Yeah. Wow.
Did you get any numbers?
No.
Damn it, man.
I was just there to party.
We need to get these KPIs in.
What about the masquerade party? Like, how many mistakes did you make?
No, but
That's not excess belt.
that was good. That was good though.
That's why I've been quiet this whole time. I was just trying to figure out how to frame it.
Something.
Yeah.
So I mean, Alex, that sounds pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, no.
How many more festivals between now and the end of the year?
Well, in 6 days, I'm going to see Swedish House Mafia.
Okay. When's Rome?
Oh wow.
So yeah, the 31st is Swedish House Mafia. Then the 1st of November, I move into my place with Nick.
Mm.
And then on the 3rd of November, I go to Rome.
So Swedish House Mafia is going to be a Halloween thing then?
Yeah, but Halloween here, I don't think it's a weekend. So all the Halloween parties are happening on like 27, 28, 29, I think.
Yeah, but if Swedish House Mafia is playing on the 31st, is it not going to be a Halloween theme thing, like come dressed up?
I don't
because
think
it's on
so,
the 31st.
Because it's their tour, right? They've been doing the same tour since
2002.
No, really? No,
No.
what? No. I think it's the same tour from their first show is Coachella.
Right.
I think they've done the same theme everywhere. So I think it just happened to fall on Halloween.
Cool.
Nice. Cool. What about you? So that's you wrapped up then for the week?
Yeah, that's done. Now I'm just studying for my exams this week.
What's your exams on?
No, I technically only have one online exam, and the
Why'd you say plural then? Why'd you say exams?
No, because
With the S.
I have papers to hand in that count as exams, but I only have one actual exam.
He messaged in the group yesterday and said, "Oh, tell me something I need to do it this morning because I'm going to be really busy this week studying for my exams."
No,
I was like, "Yeah, cool. I respect that." And lo and behold, it's like one online exam, multiple choice.
But I have
Google the answers.
I have paper. I still have stuff to do and to submit and stuff.
I think you're lying. I think it's just gonna be a Google form, and it's gonna be like, "Are you enjoying learning? Yes, no, submit."
Dude, I wish it was that.
Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, that's why it's like, yeah, me and 40,000 people. How many were you with? One.
Do you want me to be with 40? Well, no, I'll just stop speaking.
Yeah, so, maybe.
Solo Christoph. All right, well, good. That's good. So next week's gonna be crazy. So have we factored all this in terms of when we're gonna record next week? Then we'll have to catch you before Rome. Between moving into your new home and Rome.
Yeah, we can. Well, easy.
Second.
Well, no, the day that you move in is the 1st, right?
Yeah.
You'll have time then. That's a Tuesday. You'll have time. You're just gonna move one suitcase, right?
It'll be easy.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
you ain't got no plates or nothing to move, have you?
No, it's furnished place.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I just bring my suitcase and stuff.
That's empty bottle of water for the toilet.
There we
suitcase, job done.
Ooh, what if he takes the toilet water to the new place and he's like, just because he doesn't want to change too quick?
Might be onto something there.
Well, let's get onto Vic's week. So, Vic, since the last week, quite a lot. This is actually, relatively speaking, this is quite a big week for you.
Well, no, not really. I mean, I still do stuff. It's just like it's not as exciting as 40,000 people or one person at a football stadium in Amsterdam. But now, again, you know, I'm a family guy, right? So, you know, a lot of my weekend is spent doing family hobnobbing. So Friday night we went to Blue Water Island in Dubai. So for anyone from outside of Dubai, it's like it's a brand new island on reclaimed land. They've got the big the Iron Wheel there, whatever it's called, Eye in Dubai, which is like the London Eye but bigger, and they got a whole bunch
2x the size.
2x the size. There you go.
Yeah, and they've turned it into a media property. Have you seen how much media they're doing on the inside of the wheel now?
Oh, they've been doing.
You can actually buy that like as of like this year. It's like a lot of stuff you can put.
Yeah, they've been doing it since last year. Like I've been watching it like every now and then, and particularly like they do all like the New Year's stuff and then a lot of like launches. We saw something last week from the Lenscart guy. He had put a whole bunch of promo stuff on the wheel. Yeah. So we went there for dinner. It was just like a big like mishmash of people. So we had some friends in town. Our friends that live in Dubai had some friends in town. So it's like 13 of us just went for dinner at Basanti, which is an Indian restaurant. Beautiful place. It's right near the pods in Dubai, in Blue Water. Good food, good service. It's a really consistent place. I've been there 2 or 3 times. It's a very, very consistent place, and it's on the Entertainer.
Can I ask you what's better, Basanti or Bombay Bungalow, which is 2 minutes from there?
Food wise, I'd say that they're roughly on par.
Really?
Yeah.
So Basanti must be good because Bombay Bungalow is excellent.
Yeah, Basanti is really good. Like we've taken a couple of people there, and we've liked it every single time. And then you got Bombay Bungalow, which is a bit more kind of a little bit more creative, like with the avocado pani puri and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But and pricing isn't too crazy in Basanti. It's on the entertainer, so you can kind of stomach it. It's probably a little bit more expensive than Bombay Bungalow.
Basanti, so typically, if you're not a big eater of like Indian or South Asian cuisine, they typically skew one or two ways. They either go more towards starters and grills, or they're more towards curries and biryanis and things of that nature. Which one is Basanti?
All three. They got solid starters, lamb chops, chicken tikka, the whole lot. Curries are really solid, and a couple of people had biryanis on the table and they loved it.
Wow.
So they've like covered like the mix of like a lot of good North Indian cuisine. So that was cool. And you know, Blue Water's a vibe, man. Like it's really nice. It's right on the river. You can see JBR, which you know you can see it at a distance. You're not in JBR, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man. Like it's great weather. It's a good time to be out and eating outdoors now. So we enjoyed that.
Did you have an outdoor table?
Yeah. Like 7 o'clock, beautiful, perfect. Like literally perfect.
Is the weather getting better and better?
Days are hot, evenings are beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come 6-7 o'clock, it's really nice. And then you're by the water in Blue Water as well, right? So
yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah, and that's it, man. So that was Friday. And then Saturday we went to we went to the QE2. So the QE2, which is I think it's like the Queen's boat, like the Queen's cruise ship when she used to travel on water around, and they bought it and they docked it in. It's been here for like many years, and we've been there a few times, and they do like pantomimes and plays and all that kind of stuff. So we went to see, me, Shayla, and Ine went to see a 1 hour 10-minute play, 70 minutes for the 7 books of Harry Potter. So we're all big Harry Potter fans. It's called Potted Potter. It's a 2-man show, and it's essentially like a parody of all 7 books. And like one guy like narrates it, but like it's all a bit silly and a bit dumb, and then the other guy kind of acts out all the characters. It was pretty good. So it's a bit like grown up college like improv. You know, it's a bit corny but actually quite funny. Yeah, like really good humor. In a really enjoyed it. We did it mostly for him. So that was our Saturday, and that was literally it. We just did that. And oh no, sorry, then we went to Dubai Hills Park. So Dubai Hills Park had a big Diwali show. So I don't know if I mentioned a couple of weeks before that they had another cultural event for Indians, and on Saturday they had a big Diwali festival. So they had like a stage, competitions. They had, you know, they like painting for kids and like food stalls. It was really nice. So like EMA basically put on, now it seems to be like every kind of cultural event they're putting it on for free. So you just rock up, anyone can come. And it was really nice. And it's good because we're out here and, you know, you're not with family and stuff. So to get a sense of kind of that kind of environment is really nice. So we did that on Saturday. Other than that, man, like we took NA surfing on Sunday. He started surfing lessons, but yeah, my cool. Weekends are family now.
Yeah, I think the surfing thing was dope. Actually, when I was talking to NA, it sounded like he was really enjoying it, and it's like this kind of like holistic thing of exercise on the beach and surfing, because there's not much surf here in Dubai. No, but it sounds to me like they've kind of freaked it into something dope. So that's wicked, man. Awesome, sick, awesome. I've had a bit of a mad week from that perspective. So like with Vic, my week kind of paralleled the whole Diwali narrative. That was a big thing in the city. So starting on Friday, good friend of mine, Lavi, who is one of the co-founders of Leela's Lunches, which is a food service for kids here, healthy food, and her husband Tim, one of my good buddies as well. I actually DJ'd at their wedding in Goa many years ago. Some of the first people I met when I first started coming to Dubai. Tim is from a film company called Nomad. Very, very dope. They do incredible documentaries. One of them that they did was they were actually commissioned to do a documentary about how the UAE handled the pandemic. So it's a super interesting documentary. So both great people, both like ex-corporate. Now they've gone into like much more of a kind of creative world, whether it be food or whether it be filmmaking. But they threw a sick house party. So shout out to everybody that was there. Managed to catch up with so many good friends. And shout out to Kanika as well, who's also the co-founder of that. We met so many good people there. Diwali is a good time to catch up with people. Like Vic was saying, you kind of like, you find yourself in rooms and at events, and they did such a good job in terms of the whole vibe. Their house is huge, and then they've got like catering. Obviously, they've got a catering company, so they handled all of the veggie stuff, and then the non-veg catering was from the meeting room. I don't know what it's called now. What's it called now in Motor City? They changed the name of it, didn't they?
I don't know. I thought it's still called meeting room.
Yeah, it might be. I think they changed
Didn't
it.
they just change the location?
They did. They moved it to Motor City. So they were the guys. Shout out to our friend, I think it's Ali over there, who's the founder of that company. But they changed it to whatever they changed it to. But it was, the food is just some of the best food in the city. Like really, really amazing. I'm just Googling it now. Meeting room.
It's the
Motor
place we
City.
went to, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's the same place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
you
it's
like
very
that,
good.
didn't you?
Yeah, it's very good. It's a bit spicy for me, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it was, you can tell it's very good food.
Yeah, insane. So that's where it was, and those guys did that. Oh, it's called Meatish. Yeah, Meatish by Meeting Room. Super dope. I'm gonna give a shout out to the guy there who created that restaurant because, yeah, Abdul, good job, Abdul. That whole place was catered, so you just couldn't have better food. They brought a bar team in. Everyone had a wonderful night. So shout out to them. And then Saturday daytime, headed over to a Diwali brunch. So our friend Pooja Engineer, who's the wife of another friend of ours, Chiran Engineer, he's a DJ. I didn't know she really did events, but she did an incredible event over at Jumeriah Golf Estates. It was basically like a Northwest London reunion of like various Indians from that part of the world. There was obviously others there as well, but it was dope, man. So many good people came out. Basically, everybody you'd want to catch up with, because the people that we know, that group size is pretty big. Loads of kids. Shout out to Nick and Nisha, Vic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Nick is one of my boys. When I was your age, Alex, he used to be in my crew. We used to fly and do parties together. He used to like promote for me. I had a crew at that time, and then his wife, who's an entertainer, she's a dancer, a classically trained dancer, was doing training for all the kids. And it was so crazy because when she was doing training for the kids around classical Indian dancing, there were so many parents stood around her who I could overhear. Some of them even said it to me as well. They were like, we don't think we'd be able to get someone to teach classical Indian dancing to our kids or inspire them on this front, even if we were in London right now. And the fact that the event was much smaller than a London event, it might have been, 100, 120 people, give or take, but it was like very, very like high touch. And so it was really, really nice. And there was so many good people that we met there, like shout out to like, some of our good friends that came along. So it was very, 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 very dope. And then in the evening, did I do something in the evening? Oh yeah. My girl, Manisha Advani, shout out to her, founder of Govinda's Veggie Restaurant in Jumeirah. She threw a house party. It was sick. I went along with just a friend of mine who was also invited. Again, I don't know what happened in the last 10 years when Diwali became like just a big party, but it was as good as party as you'd have for any other reason. There was music, there was a DJ, there was a bar, and there was just some really cool people. So just had a sick time. And then the biggest thing in my week, I would say, Sunday was the Culture Summit in Abu Dhabi. Did you see this on your Instagram by any way, Alex? You see that Trevor Noah came to Abu Dhabi.
I saw your stories and I saw what you sent to the group chat and stuff.
Yeah, really, really sick. So Instagram was super excited. Trevor Noah was coming to the UAE. He was being interviewed as part of the Dubai Culture and Tourism had put on this event, the Dubai Culture Summit. It's happened pre-pandemic. I never knew about it, and I certainly wasn't invited. But I want to give a massive shout out to my friend Ali. Now, Ali is from a company called Straight Up, and what they do is they're kind of involved in so many different events and artists and like things like that happen around the UAE. But what he did, which was really dope, and I got a chance to meet these people only when I got to the event, is he invited like a whole bunch of like ground level movers and shakers, like people like me with my friends, your friends, DJs, artists, filmmakers. So there were some very, very high level people in there, like world art collectors and, a lot of like big cats in there. But there was also a nice mix of like artists, and a lot of them came in like through Ali as well. Like he's the plug to the people on the ground that are doing all this kind of stuff. So he let in he obviously invited so many great people, got them in. There's quite a process to get approved to go to this event, but it was really one of the most dope events. And Shout out to my friend Abs, our friend Abs. I saw that there was a guy there, tall American fella, lots of jewelry. And I was like, that guy looks like he's from the culture, like from hip hop culture. And then shout out to my friend Albert, who also works on Straight Up Emirates Music Summit. He goes, "Oh, Rico Love's in town. I'm meeting him on Tuesday. He's actually in the venue today. He's got a lot of diamonds and jewelry on." I said, "I feel like I recognized him." So I texted my friend Abs. I was like, "Abs, is Rico Love on your roster?" And Rico Love is on the roster of our very good friend Mams Taylor out in Los Angeles. I gave Mams his first video interview 15 years ago when I was out in LA. So Abs hit me back. He goes, "Yeah, that's him." So I walked up to him and I was like, "Yo, are you Rico Love?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm a friend of Mams Taylor. It's very nice to meet you. I know that they're kind of like Mams manages him and whatnot." So straight away he pulled out his phone and he FaceTimed Mams, and we just had a very like quick catch up, which was really nice. To the left of Rico Love was a guy who I'd seen the whole day, a slim, well-dressed, well-kept, older black guy, like looked like a special guy, but not very, very understated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Yo, that guy like looks well." Do you know what I mean? For an older guy. He was stood to the left of Rico Love. I said, "Hello, Raj, nice to meet you." Put my hand out. He goes, "Hi, nice to meet you, Jimmy Jam." Now, you want to Google who Jimmy Jam is, Alex. This is one of,
no idea
before, you've heard of Blackstreet?
No.
Okay, you've heard of Pharrell?
Yeah.
Ahead of Pharrell, you've got a whole generation of like Teddy Riley style artists. Ahead of that,
Yeah.
you've got Jimmy Jam and, well, it's not Terry Lewis, is it?
Terry
Jam and
Lewis.
Is it Terry Lewis, yeah?
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, yeah.
So Jam and Lewis are this iconic production duo. They're like kind of like before the Neptunes. You heard of the Neptunes, right?
Yeah.
So like they're the original, like before, way before the Neptunes. They've made so many huge hits. They're so influential when it comes to pop music and black music coming out of America. So he was there. And as Rico was FaceTiming our friend Mams, and I was talking to them, and then once I was done with that, I looked up and Jimmy Jam had left. He'd taken a car and gone somewhere. So I didn't get a chance to like, kind of like give him his flowers. And not that he needs them from me, but when he said Jimmy Jam, I said, "Oh, really? Wow. Like such a honor to meet you." And that's all I got a chance to say. And then he bounced. But there was some incredible people. And I want to, maybe instead of giving shout outs at the end, I just want to give shout outs to all the people that I met out there. So shout out to Patricia Milnes, the art collector. Omar Al-Basadi was in the house, Vic, which was super dope. One of our good friends from Capital Club. He's now doing like some ambassador stuff with the US. He was such a good dude. He really is like the consummate networker. Like he was like talking to everybody, like building with people. Everybody knows who he is. Like such a like charming, nice dude, like encouraging dude. Dan Greenpeace was in the house. Big up to him. He's got some incredible stuff happening. Who was the artist I told you was bringing? Louis Capaldi.
Yeah. Louis Capaldi. Alex, you know Louis Capaldi, right?
Yeah, I mean,
massive in your kind of age group.
Yeah, in my age group, definitely. I know that. Like, I don't know any of his songs by name. I'm sure if you play some, I'd know some. But I know he's huge within like my age group.
Yeah, he's dope. So Dan's bringing him. If you're a fan of this guy Louis, then just Google it because there's a show coming up in Dubai. Go and support that and go and support our friend Dan. Nada Hosking, cool person I met from the US, working in like heritage sites. And then of course like Albert and Ali I mentioned. And then Pirlanta was there. She was at Last My Friends, Your Friends, if you remember, Vic, from Last Seen Live.
Yeah, I do.
Her and Sarah. DJ Swanner was there. Now DJ Swanner was the DJ that was DJing after I did the F Up Nights. I spoke at F Up Nights recently.
Yes, with Ritesh, right?
Yeah, with Ritesh, yeah. So when I went out afterwards, there was a few people that were like, "Oh, you should talk to the DJ because I know you're a DJ. You should talk to her." And I saw her and she was vibing. She had a crew with her, so I thought, let me not go over and like kind of disturb her. But we connected on social media and we kind of like been in touch. And then I got a chance to like kick it with her. And then DJ Sarah G was there, and then I also met this other lady, Sana, who works in like operations and intranets and kind of like culture and all that stuff. And she was talking up Notion, which was really sick. Hans Franklin, who heads up
great guy
Abu Dhabi TV. Yeah, he was there, like TV and Film Commission. Derek Hill, the guy who heads up 2454. DJ Flipside, shout out to Uganda. He came over to me. I always get boosted when people come over and say, "Yo, big up on the podcast," when that's the first thing that they say. Because although the numbers are limited on this podcast, you know that the real ones are listening.
Yeah.
Rico Love and Jimmy Jam. And of course, a dude who I've not seen for the longest time, my dear friend, arguably maybe the first person to really kind of like give me a platform in this city, period. Sultan Al-Qasmi, Sultan Sud Al-Qasmi, dope cat, biggest collection of artwork, Arabic artwork in the world, speaks at major academic institutions in the US. So just to give, I go through all these names in detail to give you a list of the people that I knew at the event and the caliber of people that were at the event. And bear in mind, I probably knew 1 to 2% of the people that came to the event. So imagine all the people that I didn't know, all the other people that were speaking on stage. So shout out to Abu Dhabi, man. That culture summit was super sick. And
what was the biggest like takeaway? I know you went to see a bunch of talks, you met a bunch of good people, but like I know you and I have spoken about it. It'd be good to kind of get your viewpoint on Abu Dhabi as a whole, because you've never been you've never been anti Abu Dhabi by any stretch of the imagination. You've just never been that into it, like, because you've just never known enough about it. So you've never been able to be like, yeah, Abu Dhabi is this, because you just don't know enough, because you've not been there enough. So now that you spent a bit of time there recently and you've done this culture summit, what is your view?
Well, I mean, I've been going there for like 10 years, but there was nothing remarkable about it. Even when I used to come to visit you, I was like, it's nice, but there's not a lot of people here and it's very beautiful. And now something needs to attach, like everybody on an individual basis has to attach with a place, right? Now that they're pushing culture, like brands like Aldar are like doing collabs with Kevin Hart and Pharrell Williams, naturally that's going to appeal more to me. Like your attachment with Abu Dhabi has been much more like, yes, it's beautiful, but it's also functional as a family person. It's the first place you landed. So when you move to a country for the first time, you're always going to have a bit of a bond, like maybe the way I have a bond with like Toronto or other places like that. You kind of fuse in, and that time will always be very special. But for me, I was like, okay, Dubai's giving me everything I want. I need, it's hard to compare a quiet place like Abu Dhabi to Dubai until this last couple of weeks where we've been going a lot more. We're seeing what they're doing. And just, there's something about the quality of the execution in Abu Dhabi. It's basically flawless. Like it's the highest quality execution of F&B, of like live venues, media and entertainment offerings. And these are the things that appeal to my DNA. And that's what I particularly like about Abu Dhabi. And I'm no expert on Abu Dhabi. Like you rightly said, I've probably only been there like maybe 15, 20 times over the last 10 years. But the last 1 year, it's like really big. And we've been talking about it on podcasts, like the fact that they're not speaking on an individual artist basis in terms of the people they collaborate with, but they're franchise, Guggenheim, Louvre, NBA, MMA, or whatever it's called, UFC. Like they're doing like group level deals. Do you know what I mean? They're not moments like, you know, Mariah Carey singing here or whatever the case may be. So it's very, very open. The people in Abu Dhabi as well, like I like the mix of the fact that there's way more Emirati folks that you can vibe with, and you know what I mean? Like you can learn from them and figure out what it is that they like, what they don't like, what appeals to them. Like you really feel like you can get close to Emirati people in Abu Dhabi and have like real meaningful conversations. And because it's not such a busy place, like it's not got that LA vibe that Dubai's got where people are like moving very quick, you can kind of have much more like meaningful conversations, which I really love.
It's the sheer population of Dubai that allows it to have that kind of fast moving, quick nature to it, quick deals. Like the Mariah Carey coming in, you don't see as many locals, just simply the Emiratis, simply because of the sheer population of expats. Abu Dhabi is wide, it's big, but there's so few people comparatively that everyone is out. Everyone is kind of open and accessible and out and about, and not only that, involved in everything. So you'll go to wherever you go to, you'll have the mix of people from all the expats and the Emiratis, and everyone's kind of beautifully mixed in and just kind of doing what they do. But what's interesting about what you said is that it's like partnership deals. They're doing like these big brand name deals just to get that. See, what Abu Dhabi needs more than anything else is mass appeal. Like when I say mass appeal, not mass in terms of population, but mass in terms of stature. So having the Louvre, the Guggenheim, the Sadiats and the St. Regis's and the NBAs and the UFCs and the F1s and the SeaWorlds and the Warner Brothers. I mean, I've just literally within the last 10 seconds named huge names. I mean, Alex, you grew up there. It needs the stature for people to understand what Abu Dhabi can offer. It's still quiet. It's still low on population. The real estate development has exponentially grown since I moved there 6 years ago. Like when I looked out my balcony, there was nothing. And like 4 years later, it was full, but empty. Like, they're not, I don't know who's buying them, if they're bought, if they're not, whatever, but it still needs the people. And the only thing that's going to get the people into Abu Dhabi is the big names. And the other thing I think is, we spoke about it yesterday, is a few big companies that can move people, multinationals that can move people. They're all in Dubai at the moment, like the Microsofts of the world or the big finance companies of the world with, tens of thousands of employees. They need a couple of them, and then you'll see big movement in people.
Yeah. I like Abu Dhabi overall. I think it's really dope. And more specifically with regards to the summit, and what I learned there is that I really liked the 1 hour that Trevor Noah did. So he's interviewed, and some of the we've spoken before about this course that we've been teaching for a while, the 4 P's of content, and how, because we've lived in a world between DJs who sequence records and put them in a certain order to get a reaction from the crowd, or stand-up comics that sequence jokes in a certain way to get a reaction out of the crowd, and they do their back and forth, and us now as educators that sequence points and lessons, is that what was really interesting is that Trevor was talking a lot about his process. And what was quite interesting is that he said that when you have a set list, like, he doesn't give the same set to every single city. He tweaks it, and he goes, so the overall set has this like pruning process, which is what we're doing with our slides when we teach our courses, that we might move 2 slides around, or take a bullet point out of one, or add a bullet point to another, or take some text and turn it into a graphic, because we feel like people will learn it a lot better. And what he said, which was quite interesting, and I came up with this conclusion over the last few years, where I've been learning about teaching and learning and development, is that I don't feel like there is such a thing as teaching. I feel like there's learning how to learn, because the person you're teaching will have one of several learning styles. And if you can crack that learning style, then conveying information to them and teaching them is almost a byproduct of knowing how the person you're talking to learns. But what Trevor said, which I thought was interesting and complementary to the way that I look at things, is that he said that teaching is the best way to learn, because you don't really get the validation that you've made your point until the other person tells you, yes, I get it. And then you then go, I believe that they get it. So it's almost like a 2-factor authentication. The person telling you, I understand your point, and then their ability to convey it back to you. And he actually said something so dope. He was like, one of his special powers is, when people speak to him, is that he's able to convey an idea and simplify it and to the way that somebody understands it. He goes, but then what I'm also able to do is I'm able to convey not only one of my ideas, but somebody else's idea, and simplify it so the person I'm talking to understands it. But then he said the most gangster thing. He was like, but also people convey their ideas to me. I simplify it for them and give it back to them so that they can use the simplified version of it. And I really resonated with that, because there is a certain skill where somebody can use analogies, metaphors to simplify things and give it back to that person. And then when you also learn yourself via teaching, you're obviously doing critical thinking, because you're trying different things to help that person understand. So that was superb, really, really incredible. I definitely like that about what he said. There was another point as well that he made, which I thought was really, really good. I mean, this guy is a smart dude. Oh, he also said as well that he said that if you can't teach something, if you're asked, like, and this works in our world in consulting, if you're asked to answer something and you say, I don't know the answer to that question, but I would like to learn the answer with you, which I think in the consulting world is a great way to frame how you're going to work with somebody if you don't already know the answer. So you say, well, my experience doesn't give me the answer straight away. However, what my experience does give me is proof that if I partner with you to search for this answer, I would be the right partner to go and find this answer with you. So I was taking what he was saying as an artist and as a stand-up comic and as a a general ambassador of this kind of philosophy of life and applying it to what we learned. So it was very, very useful. It's a shame I didn't get a chance to be in the room. I went all that way to just be in an overspill room, like a few meters away, and watch it on the screen, like myself and Dan Greenpeace and a few other people did. But it was very, very insightful. I'd like to have seen him. I'd like to have dapped up with him. I think at some point we're on a collision course to obviously meet each other. Like it's inevitable that you're gonna bump into him at some point. But I really felt like Trevor Noah was like a cool cat, much more insightful than I thought. I thought he'd be light, funny, you know what I mean? But he wasn't. He was really thoughtful and insightful. Great dude, honestly.
Yeah, he's very smart. And if you see him on Instagram, they put out like the Daily Show puts out the behind the scenes or between the scenes, I think they call it. So it's like, you know, people in the audience will ask him a question and just like off the cuff, like almost like improv, they'll say, right, what do you think about this subject? And he'll just give his opinion on it. And then sometimes he gives his opinion on something that's happening in the news, like would it be Kanye or this or that or whatever, and he'll just kind of express his views and they'll put that out on Instagram. So it shows him in a different light, not just a comedian, not someone that just does some funnies or does some interviews on the Daily Show or, you know, like makes mockery of the news. He actually has some thoughtful pieces that come out. And one thing on the Culture Summit, I guess just to round it off, what I felt was really good that they did was on the day, almost felt like in real time, they're putting out wrap-up videos on Instagram on their page. I sent you the page the other day, right on yesterday, I think it was, Raj. It was really clever. Like you were messaging me stuff in the day, bits and pieces that you're seeing, maybe a picture here or there or whatever, whenever you could. But I was seeing that on their Instagram page, and that's really rare, like almost real time. So Trevor Noah's thing, he'll do his talk, and then maybe an hour later there'll be like a little 30-second clip of what he said, and then there'll be like a little wrap-up show in the crowd, and then there'll be like the delegates talking, or you know, whoever it might be. And I thought that was really, really clever, really smart. Not enough people do that, not enough events do that, particularly at this kind of scale.
But bro, can you imagine they had the crews running around with the gimbals, then they obviously must have had an editing room or an editing suite, which then gets approved and goes out on Instagram in a very quick turnaround time, as you rightly mentioned. But bro, in the staging area, although to be fair, they could have had more seats definitely for the Trevor Noah thing, but in the staging area, it was in the round. The round is difficult. They had a 5-camera setup, I think, in the round. And then above the round, they had a circular cinematic projector. So if you're actually in the round, but you're behind Trevor Noah and you can just see the back of his afro, in front of him, you can see the screen of the camera that's shooting his face, which is projecting it in front of him. So you're behind him, looking from behind to in front, and you can see his face. So there was really inclusive. And I'm telling you, I don't know who the production team was behind like this Culture Summit, but the execution was first class, like really, really good. From a technical production point of view, it was really, really good. And what I like to see as well is that when you looked at the producers, it was everybody. It was like white people, Indian people, Filipino people, African people, like everybody was involved in the production. It wasn't just like, you know, one way. I think there's a lot. I mean, I said this to you yesterday in the car. I think it was my first solo trip to Abu Dhabi to go for work. And it was the first time where I could just be in my thoughts and not like talking them through and being like, yeah, there's some real potential here in Abu Dhabi. Like this is a really incredible place. And we'll get into it in another podcast as well. But, you know, Vic and I this week, we took a few meetings in Abu Dhabi, went to go check out some of the facilities and resources they've got in and around the media space. And, you know, we just saw some incredible things. We saw a facility, a part of 2454, which is the big kind of like media hub in Abu Dhabi, where if you took my YouTube homepage, took every single model of everything I look at, from video mixers to audio mixers to microphones, and then you went 2 to 5 models higher, that stuff was in the studio as standard in the places that we saw. So it was Alex, really incredible.
This place was impeccable. In this place that we saw in 2454, it had.
Is it the still 2454?
Well, it was called Creative. What was it called? Creative Lab or Creative Hub?
So you've got well, it's called Creative Hub. So you have Creative Hub, which is like essentially like a co-working space.
Yeah.
and it has like screening rooms and meeting rooms and private offices which you can hire for months, 6 months, year, whatever. Then it has a place called Creative Lab. Creative Lab is essentially a massive, like beautiful media studios for kids, for like students to come in. So they'll bring in people to teach kids how to like use editing software, how to use cameras, how to use green screen rooms, so on and so forth, to try and encourage that those creative arts in Abu Dhabi and I guess all over UAE. And then they've got AD Gaming, which is an area where they'll set up a whole bunch of like, you know, gaming computers for kids not to come and play games, to come and build games. Yeah. And then they have like a green screen room where they'll go and do a testing area and a preview area. And like this place was amazing. Like to the point where they had one area where they just had a room full of laptops where people could just come and work. Right. On the side, they had little USB-C cables coming out, just loose, so people could come in and plug in an SSD or whatever. You don't have to do that, but they thought of every little detail. And it's not like finished yet. It's still, we got a nice little kind of preview of it, but it's beautiful, man.
Is it on Yas or?
Yeah, 2454, and I've completely moved to Yas.
Oh, it's already done.
Pretty much, yeah. There's some still in the old place, some businesses, and they'll move over.
Because I didn't know they had already completed the move over.
Yeah, so the whole building is basically done. I think they're still doing some internal refurbishments and things like that, and not all the companies have moved over, but a lot of them have. But this specific place is just this like one part of the massive 2454 in Yas.
That's super sick.
It was cool, man. It was good.
Yeah, I think you know what would be quite interesting actually, Vic. Seeing as though you got like the relationship with them, you should actually introduce Alex in advance of him coming in January, and maybe Alex can do a talk there on drone footage, because that's one thing that I think with drone laws and everything being the way that they are here in the UAE, and him having experience of shooting here in the UAE, and him also being a media student studying in Amsterdam, I think he could probably come over and do like a session. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that would be something that'd be quite interesting to set up. And then Alex, that'll give you your stripes in like kind of like doing a little bit of teaching and speaking and being part of that community. That could be a nice little thing for you to do each, because you're probably going to come back to Abu Dhabi 2-3 times a year. It might be nice for you to have access to those resources, and those resources are wild, like really incredible. Sure. But more importantly, a chance to give back to the Emirati community who maybe haven't had the exposure that you've had in terms of like you know, the creative space and the drone world and all that kind of stuff. That should be something you should set up. You see if maybe there's an appetite for that, Alex. See if there's an appetite for that, Vic, maybe.
Yeah, I'll set up for you, man. That'd be really good. That'd be really good for you and for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Speaking of content, let's get into the news stories of the day. Biggest content in the world, biggest content platform in the world has made a big announcement. YouTube is putting out YouTube handles. Looking at Vic's face, I feel like I forgot something.
No, I thought we were going straight into the big Diwali news, but we'll come back to that, I guess.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll come back to it. You know, okay, so that's very interesting that we ended up here this way. How funny that probably the biggest story in our world, especially as two young British Asian dudes, is that Rishi Sunak has become prime minister. Okay, big news. Happened on Diwali. So from a narrative point of view, it's pretty wicked.
Yeah.
And broadly speaking, I'm very happy about it. But it did get our group chat going. But let me, before I say anything else, not that the dude's going to hear this, but we'll probably ping it to some people in his inner circle. But like, firstly, big up to Rishi Sunak for becoming prime minister of the UK. Youngest prime minister. I know there was somebody 200 years ago. I get it. But no one cares about that fool, whoever that was. This is the first brown prime minister. Hindu, doesn't really matter, but like just the fact that it's a person of color who's managed to get into that seat, big news, man. If just like for me, when I was going to post about it on my IG stories, the first thing that I wrote on my IG stories was, this is for everybody who ever beat up, spat on, or swore at any of us. Because I was like, this is like, eat this, you know what I mean? And then I realized actually it's much bigger than that. I kind of took pleasure in knowing that some of the racists that I know, or some of the racists that you can still very easily be exposed to in the UK, are going to be crying salty tears on the graves of racists that came before them. And even yesterday, I didn't check out the content, but it's gone mad. Somebody called into LBC, the news network, the radio network, saying, okay, he's not British. Rishi Sunak's not British. He's not British. And you know what, he got this obviously this white cat was like, you wouldn't want me to go to India and become Prime Minister of India, would you? And I'm like, okay, good. So now we know exactly where we stand. And that's where a lot of my resentment and bitterness towards racist people in the UK, which are never hard to find, that's where that came from. But then actually I just put Happy Diwali. I made some silly little meme of like, you know, Rishi Sunak and the lady, whoever he was going up against, Penny something, in a little WWE match, which was dope. But yeah,
I just want to take some credit for that, because my son gave you the joke, Tsunami.
Did he? Oh yeah, he did. Yeah. Tsunami. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
We were sitting at home yesterday, Raj was on his phone, and we were just trying to like figure out ways to like freak his name into like a meme or a joke.
Oh yeah.
And Ine goes, Tsunami, and Raj goes, that's good.
But did he say it regarding that, or he just said tsunami? Because it felt like it was saying it just about Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, like we, as in not in the context of a meme, obviously, but we were like trying to like freak his name. Think, oh, like, you know, when you said like Mubarak with you know, Barack Obama and all that kind of stuff, like then he came up with tsunami. So yeah,
well,
anyway,
it was very good. It's very, very, very good. So I'm happy. First, let's go first reactions, Alex. Just from your perspective, like when you saw, because I don't think none of the three of us woke up yesterday expecting that by the end of the day, Rishi Sunak would be prime minister. I just thought there's a whole bunch of voting and this and that going on. There's going to be some bureaucracy, and we had a busy day as well of meetings. So we weren't necessarily thinking about UK politics as the day went on. We got too many deals to figure out. But by the end of the day, Rishi Sunak's PM.
Mm-hmm. So for me, at least, I've only been hearing about all the news that comes through you guys in our group chat. So we hadn't, since Liz Truss resigned, I don't think we had on the group chat or anything, we had spoken about anything until Rishi became the prime minister. So I don't know. I think well, like I don't know. We'll just have to see how it affects Europe as a whole and where it's gonna go from here. But yeah,
much like Barack Obama, though, what is interesting, and there are people already doing the kind of parallels here, and there are some. There's certainly others where there's not the case, but much like Barack Obama took over during the beginning of the Great Recession, the financial crisis. So the setup was really terrible. I would say that feels like light work compared to the world that Rishi Sunak's coming into, where you've got Brexit, war in Russia, and energy issues. You've got the UK in turmoil. He's coming off a back-to-back changing of monarch and changing of prime minister. I don't think there's anybody who's ever inherited, outside war times, there's anybody who's ever inherited much more of a jumbled up world than the world that Rishi Sunak is now in charge of in the UK. My hope is that he becomes the CEO of the UK and treats it like a business, because what we do know is that when you look at the Sheikh here, he is very astute economically, like a business person. He's like the CEO of the country. And I think we've seen what great prosperity that's brought to Dubai as a city and the people that live here. And I think there's a lot that can be learned from Sheikh Mohammed's approach. And I'm really hoping that some of that, the bits that are most relevant, get trickled down to the UK. So I'm excited. Plus, we've really got effectively two chancellors of the exchequer. We've got Jeremy Hunt, which probably he won't get moved because the signal that'll send into the market will be unnecessary. And then we've got the former chancellor of the exchequer, the person who was responsible for a lot of the quantitative easing and fiscal stimulus, now in charge of the recoup and the quantitative tightening. What do you think, Vic?
Yes, you've actually echoed a lot of the things that I've been thinking about in the last few hours. So, okay, first of all, let me just address it from like a cultural point of view. I said to you yesterday, I said, look, regardless of my views up and down of the UK. You know, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship. I grew up there. I love the place, you know, but I also have had difficulties in the way that the country has been run over the last few years. But this, regardless of how it happened, now he wasn't voted in by general election, fine. So the next general election, if he gets re-voted in, then we know for sure that the people have kind of voted him in, and that depends on what he does in the next 2 years. But regardless of how it's happened, the fact that he's had the opportunity to be in the seat when there's an opening, to be in front of that door when it opens, is a huge leap forward in my book. And that I think is great. He's young, he's 42, he's Indian, he's of East African heritage, which is where you know, our parents are from. He is Hindu, and that is actually quite a big thing because he's non-Christian, and you know, the kind of basis of the sovereignty and the kind of, you know, the politics has always been kind of based around some level of religion, and particularly Catholicism or Christianity, should I say. So that is also a huge thing. And the fact that it happens Diwali is great. So that's just like the general kind of cultural things. And I know that I haven't seen anything yet. I don't know if you have, Raj, but Diwali celebrations last night in the UK are usually pretty hectic, usually pretty crazy. And they must have been like tenfold yesterday. From a kind of, you know, political standpoint, again, echo what you said, man. Like this is the biggest kind of knot to untangle in political history that I can kind of think of, as aside from wartime. On the back of COVID, on, you know, the recession, the prime ministers changing, the sovereignty, the, you know, the queen dying, the king, this, that, all of this stuff. What we need now in the UK is not a political leader. We need someone that can financially figure out how to get out of the situation they're in. I think more than we need a CEO. Does that make sense? We need a leader that can inspire and lead people. But I think when it comes down to it, similar to kind of what Margaret Thatcher did, she was a leader, but she focused all on the numbers, good or bad, but she focused all on the numbers. And that's what he needs to do. If he can get the people out of the financial issues that they're facing, then he's got another 4 years in him, without a doubt.
I think
that's the one thing. Sorry to interrupt, Raj. That's the one thing I feel like he has in his immediate control. I mean, you know, he's an ex-finance guy. He's ex-Goldman Sachs. He comes from wealth. He's divisive in certain ways because people are like, well, he can't relate to the common man, and you know, there's all these kind of things that are going around. But none of that will matter, is if he can get his finance head on and go, right, how do we steer the ship from a CFO's point of view? That's where I see it, more than a CEO.
I think also you got to remember as well that as long as he can speak the CFO language with Jeremy Hunt fluently, which he will be able to, because he basically got two people that have experiencing the same job. But don't forget, this guy's responsibility is as well to be a global ambassador for the values of the UK. So you can only work the numbers in the UK so much to make the books balance, but you've also got to make sure that there is peace times in terms of both in terms of war and in terms of trade with the UK. And he's obviously gonna have to build those bridges. I mean, we're looking at him as like, you know, brown guy calculator who's going to go in and fix this mess. But the reality is he's got to make sure that there is peace and continuity with the European Union bloc and trade, as well as Russia, Ukraine, as well as you've got obviously pan-Atlantic deals, cross-Atlantic deals with the US. China is a much bigger actor in the global world than it has ever been. So he's got a lot to deal with outside just like making sure that people's energy bills are handled at the right level. But what I do want to say about Rishi Sunak is this, and this is really something that made me feel a certain way yesterday, which is that if you look at our parents' stories and when they first came to the UK in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when you hear about a tipping point in their life and their social mobility in the UK and their career, a lot of it comes down to right place, right time. So people are criticizing Rishi by being like, well, he didn't get in through general election and he didn't get in through asking all of the Conservatives to put their votes in, which when they did recently, it lent towards Liz Truss. Boris pulled out, his opponent, Penny, whatever her name is, pulled out, fine. it was a non-conventional way to find yourself into the prime minister's seat. But I'll say this, a lot of our parents made progress in the UK through non-conventional ways. We know of so many uncles and aunties who showed up to work, got there early, finished late, and then the one day when John or Gareth or Dave didn't show up for one reason or another, they said, you know what, Sudhir, or do you know what, whatever, now you can run this thing for the day. And then they realized at that point that that person was capable and said, actually, you know what, you deserve to be in this spot. And now on a meritocracy basis, you're allowed to stay in that spot. And I think that's what's going to happen with Rishi, is that if he does a good job, and I'm not saying he doesn't have any of the bad characteristics of most politicians, because they are a breed and a species within themselves. But if he does a good job in the next 2 years and he gets general elect voted in, that's the only thing that's going to take this story to a new level and actually change the DNA and the outcome of UK politics in the long term. He's got to do it. And of course, his world is never going to be a clean world. It's a cesspool. But if he can do that, I think he's going to have a fair chance of holding that spot down in the general election. And we mustn't forget how much non-conventional social mobility progress that our parents were able to make in the 60s and 70s just by being prepared and right place, right time. And I think it's quite a poetic coincidence that that's what's happened with Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, I think, that's a really, really good point. In the last 3 years in the UK, nothing's been conventional. Globally, nothing's been conventional. But if we're just focusing on the UK, everyone went through the pandemic, but the kind of 3 changes in leadership and the Queen dying and all these different things that are happening, those are all unconventional. And I agree. Yeah, he's got there through unconventional means. And like I said before, agreeing with you that if he takes the next 2 years and gets the ship steady and he gets voted in, then that's a good thing. I think on the leadership thing, Raj, I agree. I think he has to do all the kind of global politics stuff as a leader of the country. But the global leaders and, participants of any kind of business or economy globally won't see him individually as credible or the UK as credible unless he steadies the ship from a CFO's point of view. So I think the leadership thing has to happen anyway. That's kind of just comes with the role. But if he can do the CFO thing in the short term, next 6, 12, 18 months, then his credibility will just shoot through the roof globally as a leader. So I think that's where it is. I'm not a political expert by any means, but if I'm looking at it from a business hat.
So here's another way to also look at this, because yes, there's him doing the CFO thing, but I think we have to remember something which is very important about the fact that a brown guy is now the Prime Minister of the UK, is that you'd have heard this when you were growing up, Vic. You'd have older black or brown people that you have a relationship with sit you down in your younger days, like when I'm talking about when you're below 10 or early teens, and they said it to me. There was a black dude in my neighborhood, of which there was very few people of color, Jamaican guy called George. He used to serve in the army, and he served with Sikh Punjabi, so he got an affinity to Indian people. And then he had a great relationship with my granddad because they were both extremely old. And I remember he used to sit me down all the time, and he was like, Raj, you're going to have to work twice as hard to just get to where the average white British person is going to be able to get to, if not more. So now let's look at it. We are halfway through an election cycle. The next general election has to be held no later than January 2025 by law. So he's got 2023 and 2024. He's got 2 years until the general election. He's got half a term. Plus, he's got to work double as hard to be considered as capable as any white predecessor. So on a race-adjusted basis, Rishi Sunak's got to perform 4x what any white predecessor would have to do. So this man's gonna have to really pull it out of the bag just to be considered a normal, average performance politician. Half the term, prejudice, which means he's got to go 2 times harder just to be considered good. And we also have to bear in mind as well that no matter what this guy does, he could bring back the England that people talk about when they sing about the White Cliffs of Dover. there will still be some people in the UK that will not give him his dues. So
Yeah.
pricing that in, pricing in his race, and pricing in the time between now and a general election, you're talking about Rishi Sunak having to perform 4 to 6 times as good, or as 4 to 6 times better than a Boris, than a Cameron, than a Truss, than anybody that came before him, just to be considered normal. And I don't think we should lose sight of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect way to frame it. I think that's a really good point. I think he's built for it. You know, I think inherently, and, you know, don't take this for anyone that's listening, just take it for what it is. Inherently, as you quite rightly said, that there's a certain DNA in Indians that grew up outside of their own kind of countries, like India, that have this like need to prove, need to work hard, and need to prove that I'm here. I need to prove to you why I'm here. Like there's this kind of, it's not an imposter syndrome, but it's like this kind of weird thing that we just have to prove it. So the way you framed it is, yeah, it's perfect. Let's wait and see. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a positive move forward. I'm not, you know, airing any kind of political views, who I vote for, who I don't vote for, but just as a standalone kind of, you know, situation that's happened, or a moment that's happened, I think it's a good thing, and it's a breakthrough. And as you quite rightly said, if he gets over the next 2 years and then general election, we'll see a different England, a different UK in the future, completely different. I would like to hope so.
And macroeconomists are already saying that the hot zone of this recession that's started is about 2 years. So it's interesting that this recession should, if everything goes reasonably well, should start to see the end of it in 24 months anyway. It's funny how that lines up with the next UK general election. It is also the time where we'll be able to make significant progress in and around our relationship with Europe. And it's also the time that the US is going to be going through its next election as well, because we're about to enter midterm season. So, you know, that's what it is. Speaking of midterms, Alex.
What's up?
You're going to have to start eating more spicy food now, because when we go to England to make content, you know, every single food outlet is going to have its spice factor turned up by at least 20% now that there's a brown man running the country.
Gotta like practice, you know?
Start practicing in Amsterdam. There's got to be some spicy food you can get ready with.
Oh, I definitely could. It's just a matter of if I want to.
They're gonna start creating dishes after him as well, like the Sunak Sagaloo or something like that.
Yeah, they've got to. So anyway, let's reverse back into the original story that we're going to talk about here, which is YouTube handles. Now we'll keep this one brief because it's a new announcement, but ultimately what's happening here is that for quite some time, YouTube have had vanity URLs. So mine is youtube.com/Raj Kotecha, or if you look at it when it's actually loaded up, it'll be youtube.com/user/Raj Kotecha. Now what they're going to start allowing you to do is encouraging you to identify people's channels through an @ symbol. So mine would be @Raj Kotecha. What's interesting about this and how it plays out is YouTube is this slow, steady monster that is now going to start adopting one of the biggest social media dynamics of social media platforms, period, which is that having an @ symbol. My personal curiosity around this is we never say to ourselves in the real world, oh, I met this person on YouTube. We'll say, I connected with this person on Instagram, or I connected with this person on Twitter. YouTube is not a platform where typically on a peer-to-peer basis, people find themselves connecting. You don't see that happening in the comments. The comments also are not the friendliest, but now it looks like there's going to be some sort of attribution. I don't know whether this is, you know, because people are going into much more of an interrogative world when it comes to social media, going up in front of Congress, saying who your users are, who's real, who's not. That's certainly been damaging for Twitter and Twitter's valuation, especially with Elon looking at buying them. But now creators are being given them. I've got mine. And maybe when civilian populations start being given their @ symbols, YouTube could come along and say, well, if we do some identification verification, we'll give you your own @ symbol, even if you're not a creator. Because what will then happen is those contributors to YouTube will be able to take part in messaging platforms on YouTube. You're already going to see it with shorts. You're already going to see it with videos. Maybe you'll be able to click on someone's @ name like you do with Twitter and see everything that they've spoken about and who they've spoken to it about, like what channels they've spoken to and on. So I think it's a big move. Vic, thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest advantage. So just on the civilian thing, everyone's going to be able to get a at handle, and it's automatically designated to you as of 14th of November. If you can't choose it beforehand, you're given like an option to choose, and it'll be like kind of dripped out. But everyone gets an at handle based on your YouTube, like your the username. So everyone will get one. It's going to be a great communication tool. I think that is going to help with reducing spam in comments and bots in comments, because now you can justifiably click on the handle, see, like you just quite said, see what they've done, see everything, and then really make a decision on whether they're right. You can probably start blocking quite much easier. Do you know what? Do you know what I thought of, which is a bit of a random thing? You know, when we put up, when we were doing client work, you put up a kind of at handle for your Twitter or for your Instagram. But when you used to do YouTube, it always used to be like a / and youtube.com/. Now you just put the handle and the symbol. It's just going to be much easier from this is my YouTube. So when you search for people on YouTube, some people have like multiple email addresses, and then they're quite similar in the name. And then like the YouTube can be like, you don't know which one is which and all that kind of stuff. You just need to type in the handle and you get straight to that creator's page. And I think that'll just make it a bit easier. There's more to it, I'm sure. Just at a surface level, I think that these are some of the good things that will happen in terms of being able to find creators, for creators to be able to display what they do, for communication, maybe even better indexing through Google. I don't know, but there'll be a lot of kind of advantage like that. But that's the one thing I thought of, is like, well, you can just display your app anywhere now easier, and people can probably find you easier.
Also, as well, like think about some of the progress that Instagram's made with collabs. Collabs are very big on YouTube. So now imagine a video is brought to you by at Alex Christoph and at Raj Kotecha. The attribution, the likes, the comments are shared between both. And we were talking about this prior to recording. YouTube is a slow, steady monster. You don't necessarily see it moving, but it is constantly rolling forward and sucking up more and more of the best practice. It doesn't try to innovate and copycat as quick as Instagram does or TikTok does. But this is a big move. And a lot of the stuff that I think they're going to roll out from this in the coming months is going to be crazy. YouTube Shorts as well, when it comes to micro content, having collaborations on there, I think that's going to be really, really important. So I'm super excited to see it. Alex, how's it going to affect how you put out content?
I'm not. The first thing I thought of was what Vic was talking about, finding creators, because there's so many times where like you try finding a channel that's not as popular, and a list of so many channels will come up, but now having a specific username, only that person will come up if you're looking for them. So I think that's already super helpful. And then, like you mentioned, also collaboration wise, it'll be interesting because then the videos will come up on both channels, which same thing that happens on Instagram feed right now when you collaborate, which I think that will be super interesting.
I'm not being dumb, right? There's no collab feature right now on YouTube, right? Doesn't exist, does it?
No.
But but with handles it could.
Yeah. I at least like Raj was saying, like I think it shows the idea that it could happen.
Yeah. I think, do you know what? Collabs on YouTube, now that I'm thinking about it, that's going to be, and think about what it could do for. So then how would they do ads on collabs? Would it be split revenue, or like how would, like
that's a good question.
I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, but I mean, let's just assume it'd be a rev share, and maybe the creators will be able to move a dial, because if a super major creator makes something, they might say, you know what, as the main author of this, we'll do an 80-20 split or a 50-50 split, because in some cases, creators are not going to want, all creators are not equal on a collaboration, but there might be some strategic reason, or somebody might say, I mean, it's like publishing, right? We might do a video together. We'll be like, you know what, I'll give you the exposure, but I want 100% of the royalty, effectively the ad revenue that gets paid out on it.
Yeah.
I think it's something which is really, really important. I think YouTube now has been a silent monster. It's let all of this short form media do what it does. It's let a lot of the privacy and policy stuff, a lot of that chaos happen. Google in general as a machine, Alphabet in general as a corporation, has managed to dodge a lot of this. But you can see a massive maturation. I mean, all of us that own Google apps have now started to pay for it. We're all paying £3 to £5 per user, per account, per domain. So they're really getting on their monetization stuff. And I think how this plays out from like an investment point of view is that you can really see that now YouTube is going to start to take revenue a little bit more seriously. And if it does, and it does become a real media machine, I think it's a place where we as creators need to pay more attention. We as consultants need to direct our clients' attention. And then we as capitalists also need to look at what the revenue opportunities are going to be coming directly from the platform.
I think YouTube's going to stand the test of time. Like, you know, Instagram potentially could just disappear. You know, we'll probably talk about Snapchat in a little while, but Twitter, you know, they're all going through their own like little wars, their own internal wars, their turmoils, you know, war between each other. And like you quite rightly said, YouTube's just like on the side, just watching them and going, I'll take that and I'll just make it a little bit better for me. I'll just take that. I'll take a piece of that and I'll integrate it here. I'll take a piece of that. And they're doing their own innovation as well. But I don't think YouTube is going anywhere because not only because of the handles and innovation and revenue opportunities and stuff, but when you've got big creators on there that take YouTube as seriously as they take it, like Mr. Beast and so on and so forth, YouTube has a responsibility to itself and its creators to take that seriously as well, to continue to make sure that there is a platform for these creators because it benefits them in the long run as well. Whereas when you've got Instagram and TikTok, where it's just like a dance, 15 seconds of this or that, and it's like very fleeting and very kind of fickle, you don't really feel like you get the substance within Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, and maybe Twitter's different, but YouTube feels like it's solid, it's foundational, it's giving you everything that you need in one ecosystem. Now it's up to you to create, but there are creators taking it seriously. They're going all in on YouTube. And that's why I don't think YouTube's going to go anywhere. I just can't see it. I mean, I don't think Google's going to go anywhere. Therefore, I don't think YouTube's going to go anywhere.
Have you guys seen Rumble?
Yes.
So I think also as well, like YouTube now, only recently in pop culture, people started saying Rumble is an alternative to YouTube. And I think that, you know, YouTube's gonna have to be like, okay, listen, I'm gonna go back into my house, get my suit of armor and actually show you that there's no competition. And if it has to build up on the monetary side as well, then it'll take that option. Sorry, Alex, I just cut you off. You're about to say?
Yeah, what I was saying was, because you mentioned Instagram handles and finding a way to better connect with each other and creators. If that does happen, doesn't that just make YouTube a long form content Instagram app basically? Once you can connect with creators, it's just I'm saying long form just because that's what YouTube's known for.
It seems to be known for that right now, but what's happening with Shorts at the moment? Shorts is gonna solve a really big problem. Is solving a really big problem that Instagram's never been able to solve. Like, for example, when I'm out and about and I'm hustling, doing my thing, if I need to show somebody a reel and that reel was from, you know, months ago, it's very, very hard to pull up. I think what we're actually going to see is innovation on the YouTube app, because the YouTube app is pretty easy at the moment to use on your phone. And so let me give you a real example. In the last few weeks, I've been meeting a lot of Kenyans, a lot of new Kenyans. So one of the things that comes up is the fact that I DJ'd in Kenya in December. The only place that I have that video at the moment is on Instagram. So I have to scroll back for at least 45 seconds to a minute and a half because, you know, Instagram is not a true waterfall. It stops after a few, loads up, and then you keep scrolling. Then it stops. You have to load up and keep scrolling. If that was on Shorts and I had direct links, indexed, playlists, and then things that people can search, I think that'd be a lot better. So the long form thing, I'm probably not in sync with you on that one. I think it's going to be all video, but there'll be sub-towns within YouTube that'll be more focused towards short form, which would be Shorts, YouTube General, which is anything you want to put up there. I don't think we should ignore YouTube Music and the amount of people that are saying that YouTube Music is extremely valuable. Again, that's Google. And then you've got YouTube's actually like subscription rev shares for people that are following certain video content creators. And on top of that as well, you've got YouTube Premium. because now YouTube, again, slowly, boa constrictor. YouTube used to have 15-second ads and you couldn't jump past them for 5 seconds. 15-second slots became 30-second slots. Again, 5 seconds, no jump. Now you've got 15-second compulsory runs of ads. So you'll have a 15-second permanent, then the next one will be a 30-second or a 1-minute ad with a 5-second jump. So their ad inventory mix combined with what they know consumers are prepared to consume is becoming very, very sophisticated. Don't forget, behind all of this sits DeepMind AI, the best AI platform in the universe, that's serving you ads, both from a creative point of view and from a needs and product services point of view, and from an ad format point of view. 15 seconds permanent, 5 seconds jump over, 30 seconds long form, pre-roll. All of that stuff is factored in. Plus, I'm sure literally hundreds of thousands of other variables on a per user basis. So I think maybe if I was to do a real hot take on this, maybe it's the case that we've traditionally seen in previous economies that there's consolidation in recessions. Maybe what we might see heading into much more interrogation by the forces that be, governments and things of that nature, that Alphabet might be preparing to spin out YouTube as a separate entity and float it as its own separate product. Because YouTube as a standalone business within the Alphabet portfolio is probably a freaking cash cow. And they probably want to create 2 separate towers now. One is Google Ads, PPC, etc. And then the other one will be YouTube. And as separate entities, maybe in the long term, it will prevent any anti-competitiveness. Because I know right now that if you split Google and YouTube, both of them would suffer from less regulation when it comes to M&A. Going into a recession where there's going to be a whole bunch of assets you can buy, Alphabet today might not be able to buy Snapchat. But YouTube, if it was spun out as a separate organization, might be able to in 3 years. And so that makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I think from a user's point of view, from a creator's point of view, I think keeping the traditional long form and short separate is going to be really important, because then it will just become messy. Then it will become Instagram, and nobody wants that for YouTube. And I don't think YouTube wants it either. So keeping those things separate, and then actually serving the viewers with the the type of ads or the length of ads on each kind of, on the shorts or the kind of traditional long form differently, is going to be important as well. But having them separate is really, I think, is really critical for the user experience, because then you're in trouble, because then you have people come in and going, well, it doesn't matter what I put on YouTube because it's just all mixed into one, which is what happened with Instagram. So it's a great company. I think it's so solid. It's just a solid place to be. And Raj, you said something earlier, and I think this is really important. We need to really kind of talk about is like, where we as consultants, where do we direct our clients' attention? Like, what should they be thinking about when it comes to YouTube? And that's going to be, I think it's going to be really critical for their branding and their content journey over the next 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of YouTube, a couple of things on YouTube on that point, and we'll go over this in one kind of like single body here. But number one of the things I saw on YouTube, which I'd encourage everyone to go and look at. Already, this is a niche content creator, goes by the name of Nomad Capitalist. Anybody who is, and I hate this term, but anybody who considers themselves a global citizen, or whose life is orientated around working or being in multiple countries every year, benefits from a channel like Nomad Capitalist, because he basically tells you where your businesses should be, where your citizenship should be, depending on the lifestyle that you want and where you're treated best. Is now going to be backing away from his YouTube channel for a number of reasons. One, to diversify his business and focus more on it. He said focus more on the capitalist part rather than the nomad part. Secondly, to make the business stronger by making it less reliant on him as an individual personality and bringing in subject matter experts that work in his team in and around this kind of like growing your wealth and going where you're treated best. But finally, also because of the sheer amount of bullying that he receives, which I think is super weird, because as a nerdy dude, I didn't think he'd get like A-grade hater material, spewed towards him. Turns out he is. And so he's leaving. So that's quite kind of a bit of a shock. I know no one's had a chance to see the video. I only saw it this morning, but Vic, you watched Nomad Capitalist. What in that cocktail, are you shocked? I never thought we'd see an abrupt end to Nomad Capitalist.
Well, I haven't seen the video, but if it's an abrupt end, that's really shocking. What I'm actually most shocked about is the bullying. Now, I expect there to be bullying because there's always going to be criticism of people who make content and creators. It's always going to happen.
Yeah.
But to the extent that you guys were talking about it just before we started this recording, I mean, that feels unnecessary. Obviously, it's always unnecessary. But what I'm shocked about is that he's not kind of going out there saying anything like controversial or just to stir up people or anything like that. He's actually going out there going, look, if you want this kind of lifestyle, here's what you should be doing. Here's real value. If you want to like have this kind of nomadic lifestyle, if you want to earn money, if you want to do X, Y, and Z, there's nothing in what he does that is, you know, controversial or should really attract any level of like serious bullying. Again, bullying will always happen. And that's the biggest shock for me. That's just completely unnecessary. He adds so much value to, I'm sure, a lot of people. If there's any like modicum of like over and above what you would expect bullying, that's whack. That's
Well,
just terrible.
So just to be clear, like his team and the other people inside his organization that he's coached and groomed will continue to put out content on very narrow, specific stuff. But he said that if you look at the comments of all of the people that attack him and say, well, I worked with them and he gave me this bad advice and he told me to move to Azerbaijan and now I hate my life. He goes, 80% of people that claim to have worked with us are not on our books. They're doing it just out of spite. And so I think this is, you know, combining it with the YouTube story and having some sort of identity on there is really, really important. He also kind of shared some stuff about being bullied as a kid and maybe he became a nomad to escape America. And, you know, he's in his 5th year now as a non-American citizen. And he explained that that might be one of the reasons. And as you mentioned, he's not a rabble rouser, right? But he's got so much nefarious energy around him. And he talks about how toxic and how horrible the YouTube community can be. So, you know, once we start layering and stacking these stories on top of each other, you can directionally see, firstly, where YouTube's going, and secondly, what the creator community is, what levels the creator community is prepared to go to make sure that their relationship with YouTube as a media platform and as an audience generator remains healthy.
So just tell me, he put out. I obviously haven't seen it. So what did he do? He put out a video on his YouTube page.
Yeah. One of the latest videos is just like it just says, "I'm out."
Era, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out later.
Maybe do this. Maybe let's put that under our content recommendations and then we can discuss it on next week's show. And speaking of content, I know we just touched on this very, very briefly, but Kanye West stays on his train, putting out a ton of content. Lex Friedman was thrown into our group chat. I saw the first 10 minutes of it today. Not incredibly valuable. I think this is something that we were speaking about on our group chat, but I don't think heading into the economy that we're heading into, that Kanye West has estimated correctly how much of people's wallet share he can command and how much of people's mind share he can command. We are busy. Our ALGO episodes are going crazy length. And how much are we speaking about just what we did this week in and around building our businesses, much of which is to prepare for the economy that we're about to go into. We haven't got 3 hours twice a week to check out 2 new Kanye West interviews. And he's one of the most important people in the cultures that we come from. And we also don't have, you know, the propensity to want to go and spend on his sneakers the same way that you might do, you know, necessarily in the good times. I mean, it means less to us as 2 guys in our 40s. I'd be interested to see what you think of that, Alex. And on top of that, not only has MRC scrapped a documentary, but he's also been dropped by CAA, which is one of the biggest agencies in the United States. They represent our friend, well, at some point, I know they represented our friend Russell Peters, but David Beckham and people like that, but they've actually dropped him as a client. And anybody who works in any kind of agency world where you act as an agent, whether in the creative space or you act as an intermediary between your clients and certain opportunities, you've got to understand what it means to actually drop a client. You don't fire clients on a daily basis. That's not the way the relationship works. The idea is to acquire clients and grow them and nurture them. It says here on an article on MXDWN, mixdown.com, that CAA's choice to end things with West follows UTA, their biggest competition, CEO Jeremy Zimmer's company-wide memo last night, which called to snub West. So it can go that far. I think even me personally, getting to the stage right now where I'd have to maybe think twice about how much Kanye I play, just because our job is to keep the crowd moving, and I just don't need somebody coming and breaking my balls, especially in a Serato world where you've got 50 to 100,000 songs that you could be playing. Vic, I saw your reaction. You didn't see it on camera, guys, unfortunately, because it's only the camera only goes to the speaker. But Kanye's been dropped by CAA.
This is as big as, to me, as big as, you know, the banks and Gap and all of these things happening to him. This is as big. This is one of the kind of pillars that has crashed down in Kanye's world. This is big news, because now, you know, see, okay, actually, here's the thing. He talks about being independent. You know, he's being snubbed by all these big companies, all of these things that he said, and he's flip-flopped and up and down and all that kind of stuff. Now he's got to figure it all out on his own. He's basically his own island. And now he's got to figure out and prove that he can do it. I don't think he's going to do it. Although he is now kind of seems to have tempered down a little bit in the last week. But I don't know, man. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I'm kind of fed up. I'm kind of done with it now. It doesn't really affect my life on a day-to-day basis. It's interesting to see, but I don't have the time to watch a Lex Friedman thing. But it'd be what would be interesting to see is now, will he be able to effectively on his own, and whichever people he has around him, get out of this scenario and turn the corner? I don't think he will. And if he does, more power to him, but I don't think he will.
I think just because, like you said, you're sick of hearing it, eventually everybody will be. And when you're alone and everybody's sick of hearing what you have to say, then what can you do? You're alone.
If he has enough people, I think I mentioned this last week on the podcast, if he has enough people, regardless of what he's saying, good or bad, that want to follow him, he's the type of person who'd be like, I want to have them follow me. So he'll just keep spitting it to those people. Fine, whatever.
Yeah, because I'm the same as you. Like the first few things he said, like you're interested in, and eventually you kind of just can't be asked anymore.
Yeah, in a choice of, like you said, Raj, we live in a Serato world. In a choice of playing a Kanye record over any of the other 100,000 records that you could play, you've got a choice. In a world where I have unlimited content to watch and extremely limited time to watch it, I'm not choosing a Kanye interview.
Yeah, I mean, let's see, Kanye signs on Highway. I just saw this thing. I don't know if it's real or not. I'm just giving it a Google right now. But
also, Balenciaga officially dropped him.
Really?
Yeah.
There we go.
This is it. And there's this one article as well on abc7.com, which says that on the 405 in LA, people are, you know, when you go under the bridges, people put those signs on the bridges.
Yeah, I saw this.
People are obviously attacking the same people that Kanye's been attacking, but just taking it to a different level. Obviously bringing in much more extreme domestic terrorist type behavior. So it's looking like it's going bad for him. And I really do believe that, you know, for people working in the media industry, even after you, Alex, but maybe even during your tenure at university, this is going to be like a classic case study that's going to be worth writing up. Okay, let's wrap it up because we're already on like using the cloud here to record this. You know, maybe this is another way for us to do 2 episodes a week and just really make sure that there's less going on between episodes. We'll scrap the American Express story, but you know, we can forget the American Express story. We'll just wrap up with this. Saudi Arabia, big artists on the way, looking like at least what's been mentioned in the press, coming up to the Soundstorm Music Festival, which is taking place 1st to the 3rd in Ban. You're looking at Marshmello, David Guetta, DJ Snake are scheduled to perform, but the guys that are catching the headlines are big artists: Post Malone, Bruno Mars, DJ Khaled. So, you know, here we are in a world where it's a consumer's world right now in the GCC when it comes to entertainment. Dubai is bringing out brilliant acts. Abu Dhabi is bringing out brilliant acts and franchises, and Saudi Arabia is creating its own franchises and filling it with superb acts. Alex, would you go to Saudi Arabia to check out this festival?
Yeah, of course. They already did it last year. You remember?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would 100% go. Like, I don't see a reason why. Like, I guess there are reasons why people wouldn't go, but me being me, I would go.
Okay. Vic?
Do you know what I think? So Saudi's playing the long game. They know that they've got a long road to go to get people to come there and build like an expat community, except like they've done here, and to really build a city up so it's not reliant on things like oil and whatnot. What I really like about what the GCC is doing, and sorry, one more point on that, I think Saudi is doing basically what Abu Dhabi is doing, is taking the big names to attract people to come there, even as tourists, just to go, look, just come and check it out. It's not what you think it is. Like Riyadh is not what people think it is. Built up, it is beautiful. You know, there's a lot of really good things about Riyadh, a lot. It's not what people think it is. But what I really love about what this part of the world is doing right now is that in the midst of global turmoil, they're going, we're betting on ourselves. We're investing on ourselves. So, you know, when people say, don't invest in stocks, invest in yourselves, you know, invest in a skill, learn how to do this, learn how to do that, like invest in yourselves. That's basically what this part of the world is doing. Qatar World Cup, Abu Dhabi, big partnerships, Saudi doubling down on NEOM and these big announcements and these big festivals and like, you know, attracting tourists and all that stuff. They're going, global turmoil, we get it, we'll support, but we have to like rise above it and like really invest us in ourselves, because we're looking 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the line, not just 2 years down the line. It's a really interesting paradigm between what the GCC is doing and basically what the rest of the world is doing.
It's also, there's a lot of data that if you're switched on, there's a lot of data when you see these kind of articles like, okay, so let's look at who's coming to this music festival, to Soundstorm. Even if we just take the top 6 names, Post Malone, Bruno Mars, DJ Khaled, David Guetta, DJ Snake, and Marshmello. If you're switched on, this is like looking at posters on the streets. When you go to a town and you see which artists are coming to perform in that town, whether it be a student town or a major city, that lets you know that a promoter has chosen those artists. That means that right now, these are the artists that the promoters feel will have the biggest crowd show up for them. So now you can gauge culturally where Saudi is. Saudi people clearly like these 6 artists. Otherwise, a promoter would have not booked them, or a booking agent or the research team that put this program together wouldn't have booked them. Now, back in my day, when we were promoting as students on a scale that's 1/1,000,000th the size of this, we would just go off instinct, but we would go from room to room, dorm room to dorm room. Which artists you like? Oh, you like Craig David, you like Artful Dodgy, you like DJ Luck, MC Neat. And then we go away and we try and source these artists and do deals and bring these events to the people. The equivalent of that on a 1000x scale has been happening. If the people of Riyadh are into these artists, and we as people that are close to culture understand how fans of this world behave, there's probably a place for us in Riyadh. There's probably something that we should be doing over there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Whether it be as media, entertainment, events, DJing, who knows? But when you see something like this, which is in any other world, this would be considered a pop festival. It wouldn't even be considered like a genre-specific festival. Yeah. And pop festivals are generic audiences. They're the ones that are actually probably the easiest to deal with. Because even Wireless has got much more of a narrow programming than this. Soul DXB definitely has.
Yeah. Wireless does have a much more narrow. Yeah, they're taking big swings. Getting these 6 artists, like, it's not niche, it's not narrow, like you said about Wireless. It's big swings, and the data is also like, you know, what's playing on the radio. What do they, you know, maybe they're looking at, you know, social media. What music is being played from a geo-targeted point of view? How can they get that information? All of those data points will add to this. They're just taking these massive swings. I mean, these are huge artists.
And like if you go on their website and look up the lineup, there's like so many other big artists that just aren't named in the article.
Who else have they got?
Carl Cox, Tiesto, Steve Aoki. I'd have to go through, but there's a bunch. There's also a lot of Medusa. Lost Frequencies, James Hype,
Okay.
Hardwell, Carl Cox. There's a lot of artists.
Looking big, looking pretty big.
Yeah.
So well done to them. I think we're on
bigger than last year as well. That's something to notice. There's multiple stages this year. Last year is only one stage.
At some point, we're going to find ourselves heading over to Saudi Arabia to have a look around. Okay, I think we're good on the stories. Another long episode. We'll leave everything else. Liz Truss resigns. We already get that. No problem. Content recommendations, seen or unseen. I'll get mine out of the way. Ed Sheeran on Breakfast Club. I thought was really nice. Humble. He talks about his new album. He talks about how personal it is to him and why that is. Unfortunately, he's dealt with some dark times, some suicides, and some mental health issues in and around him. So he's put together this album. Doesn't seem like he's too bothered about how many people listen to it, but it's something he needs to get off his chest. And of course, Ed Sheeran is just honestly one of the most likable people. I actually feel like he's more likable on platforms like Breakfast Club than he is on like a Jonathan Ross, because they're just a little bit more free speaking and free thinking. So definitely a content recommendation. I actually saw that before last week's podcast, but forgot to mention it. And I don't know if I mentioned this yet. Certainly when I'm doing this podcast in my head, when I'm dreaming, I've said this 1,000 times, but go and check out the Prince podcast by The Economist. Maybe one of my favorite podcasts of this year, talking about the life and times thus far of Xi Jinping. It paints the background of China and where that's been in terms of its predecessors and where it might go. Massively highly rated.
I'm on episode 2 of that.
Thoughts?
Yeah, really good so far. It's just it's really good. It's well paced, well narrated, enough detail, but not like blow your head kind of like too much detail. Obviously, it's very early kind of in his life, but it's really good. Yeah, it's really good. I'm glad you recommended it a couple of weeks ago. I finally got around to like being able to like chip away at it.
Good. Enjoy. Any other content recommendations?
Yeah, one that came in from Sal. I haven't watched it yet, but Kendrick Lamar Live, the Big Steppers tour from Paris. That's on Amazon Prime. So if you've got Prime, it's free. Mm-hmm. I think it's just the live streaming of that concert. I think he enjoyed it, right? He seems to.
And
he posted about it on his stories, and I was watching it. Obviously, it's him shooting his television, but it looked exceptional and actually incredible to see somebody who's touring something that looks like it's on the level of like Beyonce's Coachella performance. These things are not easy to create. Sometimes they can be a year in the making. Sometimes these concerts can be designed at the same time as the album. When you talk about people that have the creative span or breadth and access to resources of Kendrick Lamar. So yeah, that looks dope. That might be I've not had much sleep in the last 2.5 weeks. I've basically worked 7 days. I think when I do plan that pizza night and beer night by myself, I'll probably be streaming that.
Nice. He was just in Amsterdam.
Okay. What was the word?
Nick went. He said amazing concert. He loved
nice.
it.
This is part of the same tour?
Yeah. It's same tour for it's been a while, but yeah. But I know it was special in Paris because it was 10 years like on that day since one of his album launches, so he played a bunch of songs from that album. But I saw some videos of the Paris concert. It looked wild.
Yeah.
Cool. You got any content recommendations, Alex?
I was gonna say the Drake and 21 Savage album that's supposed to come out this Friday.
I think that's gonna be great. I love 21 and I love Drake, and when they're on a record together, they're incredible.
Yeah, they have good songs together. So
yeah, I think that's gonna be incredible. Will it be as good as Drake and Future album? If you're reading this, it's too late. I think it could be as good, maybe better.
We'll see. But my issue is new albums that come up are very, very, very rarely better than older albums, just because you've had more time to listen to older albums and they become like, in a way, classics. Like I don't know. I just feel like songs that come out never get, like, everybody's always like, oh, it's not good as their other stuff.
Well, here's my question to you, Alex. Are you looking forward to discussing it on next week's show, knowing that Vic's got no idea what was spoken about on the album? and has not had a chance to check it out.
Yes.
That's gonna be the Batman moment for episodes 40 to 50. It's like, let's discuss it. No spoilers. We're gonna get into it. I'm sure it's gonna have hits. These two guys do not mess around. Okay. Any other content recommendations, or is that it?
No, I think we can move on to the shout outs. So there's a couple of shout outs there, right?
Hit us with the first one, Vic.
Well, it's a big birthday for one of our boys in London, Haps. It's his 40th birthday yesterday, Diwali day. So happy birthday to Haps. Haps is a guy that we've known for some time, and we were resident DJs at his football club in Ruislip in northwest London. Just a good dude, just a wicked guy, really big supporter of Love Soul back in the day, and he had a Love Soul mural put up in the venue by a graffiti artist with Love Soul and Raj and Vic in there. It was like a custom piece of artwork behind the DJ booth. Like, that's how much of a supporter he was. Like, so we've got mad love for him, and just big up to him and big up to his business, Hey Bartender. Anybody who's in Northwest London who has a house party at home is using Hey Bartender. So search for them on Instagram or online. They come to your house, they do cocktail classes, serving drinks, perfect complement to like a garden party. Just super dude. So big up to him. And sorry, Vic, I cut you off on that one. It's just that no. That, do you know what? I actually forgot about that mural. That was a really, really cool thing that he did. Yeah, he's a big supporter. So big up to Haps. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Also, one time again for Ali from Straight Up. Big up for I really love dudes that like open doors for people. I take pride in doing it to others, and I really respect the fact that he reached out and said, "I want you to come along to this." I had already been aware of this event. I was just like, okay, it's invite only. It'd be cool to go, but it's not as if I've not got a million things going on. But then when he reached out and said, "This is dope, and I can get you in, and you should come," so I just want to show him love. Like, big up to Ali for that. Shout out to Manisha Advani for the dope party that she did, and met some interesting people there. And then obviously shout out to just the family as well, like being over at yours, Vic, yesterday for Diwali, and yesterday at my sister's place, just putting on like a sick event. Like, it's been nice. There's nothing about my schedule that has a natural place for like Diwali and festivities and stuff like that. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody who kind of like just made that possible, and all I had to do was just show up and take part and have a good time. So that's my shout outs for the week.
That's it, man. Yeah, happy Diwali to everyone that celebrated. We've got New Year's tomorrow, so happy New Year's to all the Hindus doing tomorrow. And there's an eclipse today, so be wary of that.
Yeah, this afternoon. Good thing we shot in the morning and whilst we got good lighting. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube. Give us some likes and some comments. We would be super grateful for that. Instagram gang, you can follow me on @Raj Kotecha. Vic is on
VIKMORJARIA, Vic Mujaria.
Alex
Christoph, ALEXCHRISTOPHE.
Alex Christoph is pissed off. And shout out to our editorial team, Arjun, Bal, Jessel, Kishan, Kyron, Neil, Sal. This group chat that we have of curators, of people that pick the stories, is the best thing to happen to this show since like the inception of the show. So I'm very grateful to them. And follow us, drop shares wherever you see this content. And thanks for all your support. We'll speak to you next week. Maybe we'll have 2 episodes next week, because I know sure as hell we can't go this long again in the future. And shout out to Flo for letting me continue to use his mic. All right, everyone. Peace.